I've been to the last two walks. I've been associated with them, and I have to say it's rapidly growing. The last one I was at, I'm an emotional guy, so when I was there, the bond that are between strangers is incredible because either you know somebody who has it, somebody who's a caregiver, or what people are struggling with, and it almost felt like it was I wouldn't say a heavy place to be, but it was joyous. And I was emotionally happy to see so many people coming out to support such an incredibly horrific disease that is spreading more faster than probably a lot of different things. How can people participate? I know you can volunteer, you can sign up for a team, right? You can walk, you can donate.
Yeah, I can talk about all of that.
Yeah.
Before I get into that, I just wanted to mention, so I mentioned the support groups before and how that you can kind of have that community. That's a small community. Maybe there's 10 people in the support group, 15 people in the support group, but people can lean on each other. So the walk almost has that feel just on a much larger scale.
Right.
So everybody who's there you were mentioning before, everybody who's there has a connection to this disease. So in some way, shape, or form. And so to be in a space where everybody is fighting the same fight, it's powerful.
Right.
It's powerful, it's emotional, and it's a very meaningful day to bring all of these people together. And one of the things that we do at the walk, which I think is the most meaningful, it's a fun day. So it's a fun day. We have a bubble bus, and we have food, and we have drinks, and we have a mariachi band, and so it's a fun day. Like you said, it's a joyous day because we want to bring everybody together to celebrate each other and to understand where everybody is with this disease. But the most meaningful part of what we do on walk day is when we have our Promise Garden ceremony. So what we do is we give each person who comes to the walk receives a pinwheel flower. It's a flower that you hold in your hand. The flower itself is probably about the size of my hand, maybe a little bit bigger. And we have 4 different colors. And each color signifies your connection to the disease. And so you pick the flower that pertains to you. So if you have the blue flower, it means that you are living with Alzheimer's. If you have the yellow flower, it means that you're a caregiver. If you have the purple flower, it means that you've lost somebody to Alzheimer's. And if you have the orange flower, it means that you don't have one of those other 3, but you are a supporter of people living with Alzheimer's.
And that's the one that I walk around with, the orange, because I'm very grateful that I don't have somebody personally next to me, but I do know others who have. And so just to have that orange flower and walk around with it and see other people with orange flowers knows that I'm not the only one who cares. And that to me, that means everything, right?
Yeah,
including
absolutely.
everybody else.
I couldn't agree more.
I know there's one more flower.
There is one more flower. Thank you for mentioning that. There's one more flower. So those are the 4 flowers that people will hold, all of our participants, those 1,400 people. And during the opening ceremony, we will ask people, okay, for those of you who are holding an orange flower, please raise it in the sky and hold it up high. You look across at all of the different flowers, and then we have everybody hold them up at the same time. And there's not a lot of dry eyes out there because everybody is holding a flower for a particular reason. And then we have somebody come onto the stage, and it used to be a little kid. We're moving away from the little kid and moving towards maybe a little bit of an older person, maybe a teenager or somebody in their 20s, because what that person is holding is they're holding the one singular white flower. And what that white flower symbolizes, it symbolizes the first survivor of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And we don't have a first survivor of Alzheimer's right now. It is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. It is a fatal disease. There is no survivor of Alzheimer's right now. But because we feel like we are getting closer and closer, I talked about the research advancements that we've had. That's why we're moving that white flower from a little kid to a teenager, hoping that it's sooner rather than later that we'll have that first survivor.
That's great. That's great. And I know you also have some other things. If anybody's driving over the Tappan Zee or Mario Cuomo Bridge on a specific date, they might notice a little different.
This is an annual event that we've been doing. We call it the Bridge Lighting Watch Party. So we all gather at a little park in Tarrytown, and we have music, and we have speeches, and we have food. And again, everybody coming together as a small community, and we light the Mario Cuomo Bridge purple.
Yeah.
And so it's really exciting as it turns from daylight to dusk to nighttime. All of a sudden, you see that bridge start to turn purple. And again, it's just really meaningful to see something of that scale, of that magnitude. It's for Rockland and Westchester, both walks, because the bridge obviously spans Westchester and Rockland.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's really poignant to see that bridge lit up purple in honor of Alzheimer's. That's our color.
I was going to ask you, what's the significance of the color?
Nobody seems to know what the significance of
Okay.
like where did that come from originally?
It was like, nobody has purple. Let's do
Right.
purple.
I
actually look good in purple, so I don't
Well,
mind
there
wearing
you go.
purple,
You look
right?
good in every color, Rich. I have asked that question before. So where did the purple come from? But what I will tell you is, one thing we haven't talked about yet is our advocacy efforts.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty timely right now because on Sunday I'm heading down to Washington, D.C. for our advocacy forum. Our advocacy forum is our larger piece of our Albany Advocacy Day. We have an Albany Advocacy Day that we do right here in New York, where all of our ambassadors, we have ambassadors who are working with our elected officials on a daily basis. They're the liaison to those elected officials to talk to them about what it is that we need from Alzheimer's Association, what type of bills that we need them to support, to sponsor, et cetera, et cetera. And so these people will go up to Albany. We've in the past we've taken a bus up to Albany, and we get all of New York State to go to Albany and to talk to lobby our legislators and talk to them about everything that's going on with Alzheimer's.
There was something that I remember about having you guys lobbying, I guess it was the Medicaid board, to see if they can start covering some of the cost of these medications.
Right. So that was not last year, but 2 years ago, I believe it was.
Okay. And how'd that work out? What was the results of
We
that?
got it covered.
All right.
So yeah, we actually did. So that was done. We went into New York City. And we did I remember holding a bullhorn and standing up in front of everybody and saying, what do we want? We want coverage. We want it now. We want people to be able to afford, like I mentioned before, we want people to have the option to use these treatments. And we went down to DC also, and we bussed over to a park right in front of the White House, and we walked around and we chanted and we cheered, and ultimately we came out on top. And so this weekend, I'll be heading down to Washington, D.C. again for the Advocacy Forum. There'll be more than 1,000 people from all over the country who will be going to this event. We'll be learning for about a day and a half about all of the different issues. And there are usually about 3 issues that we are focused on, that we're going to go lobby our legislators about. And then on Tuesday, we'll go over to the Hill, and we will lobby our legislators. And so the Hill will be draped in purple. Everyone will have that purple. And so the reason I started this whole story is because talking about purple, red and blue together, if you're an artist, this red and blue together make purple.
Okay.
So we're a nonpartisan organization. We're not Democrats, we're not Republicans. We work both sides of the aisle. We just want to put an end to Alzheimer's. And so purple is perfect to be right where red and blue come together.
That's great. I want to tell our listeners, as part of being on the executive leadership team, one of the things that I'm responsible and our group is responsible for is helping find support, and from a dollar basis, right? And if anybody is looking for an opportunity to grow their business, we're looking for big sponsors, whether you're a corporate sponsor in a local area,
Right.
whether you're a small business here in Mamaroneck where we film this. There's no better advertisement for your business is when somebody walks in and they've been dealing with this disease and seeing your company there.
Right.
How does a business get involved? What would be involved if they decided they wanted to donate or to sponsor a part of the event or even become like the grand sponsor, right?
You mentioned before different ways people can get involved. So, we can start there with corporate sponsorship. So as a business, you are looking to get the word out, but you're also looking for that corporate social responsibility, that CSR. So you want to have that halo effect of being affiliated with an organization such as Alzheimer's Association.
Sure.
So when we are looking for a corporate sponsor, we're not looking for a donation. The example that I always give is when Budweiser buys a billboard at Yankee Stadium, they're not giving a donation to the Steinbrenner family, right? They're trying to sell beer.
Yeah.
And so the same thing for us. We have, I mentioned before, 1,400 people, so many more people that we send out emails and social media, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a terrific way to get the word out about your company and to really show people that you are a concerned corporate citizen at the same time. So you can you have a business aspect of it, and then you have the halo effect and the corporate social responsibility aspect of it. Sure. And so there's that we have sponsorship in Westchester from 5,000 all the way up to 50,000, which is that presenting sponsor level, and that presenting sponsor level is still available.
Okay.
We're looking for a presenting sponsor. So
I hope we don't get a line out the door here
if everyone out there who's listening to this, and if anyone wants to be our presenting sponsor, certainly they can get in touch with us through that 800 number, through 800-272-3900. Of course, our website, alz.org/Hudson Valley, and they can find my information on there as well.
Great.
Which is dsobel@alz.org. So if anyone wants to shoot me an email, they can certainly do that. So that's just one way to get involved with the walk. There's so many different ways to get involved with the walk. You mentioned teams before.
Yep.
So also as a company, you can have a team. I should mention one of our top sponsors is M&T Bank. M&T Bank has become a wonderful sponsor of ours, long-term sponsor. And so you can start a corporate team as well. So M&T Bank can have a team captain, and they can say, okay, that team captain is going to be responsible for the team. Everybody joins the team. So let's say you have 10 people who join the team. They each raise $100, then your team has raised $1,000. So it's a cumulative effect, all goes up to the top. So you can start a corporate team. You can also start a friends and family team. You can start the Rich team. Big Rich has a team.
And Rich Life Podcast has started a team.
There you go.
And so I am the team captain.
Fantastic.
And so any of our listeners who says, you know what, I can't have the responsibility of starting a team, but I would love to join one. The Enrich Life Podcast has a team, and the company that I work for, Onyx Bridge, has the Onyx Bridge Walkers as well. So I'm the team captain as well. So
double duty. I love
double
it.
duty. Anything that we can do to help, right?
I love it.
And then also you're looking for volunteers as well for the walk, to participate if somebody needs to.
Going back to the teams, and I'll get to the volunteers in a moment. So going back to those teams, you start with a self-donation when you're raising funds.
Yep.
Start with a self-donation of whatever it is that you'd like to give, and then you reach out. You send an email out to your friends and family. You say, hey, I'm walking in the Walk to End Alzheimer's. Please support me. You post something on social media, and you get donations from friends on Facebook who you haven't seen in 20 years.
It's incredible.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's the team aspect of things. And then you can also join as an individual participant if you'd like to as well. As a volunteer, we have multiple volunteer opportunities. Of course, we have the day of event volunteer. So that's somebody who will just show up on the day of the event to help out, hand out bananas, give directions, whatever the case may be. We always need those folks.
Sure.
Then we also have our committee members. So we have two different committees. So we have our community engagement committee, and that committee will be responsible for helping to plan the day of the event. They'll be responsible for helping to bring back teams from last year. They'll go out to some of the farmers markets. They're the people who really plan the event. I call them the doers, the people who roll up their sleeves and get it done.
Right.
Those are the people who really get that walk together and put it together. Then we also have the executive leadership team, and that's what you are on the executive leadership team, and thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And I call that committee the Rainmakers. Those are the people who we ask to find new companies, find new people who can get involved with us and who can make a difference in the fight against Alzheimer's.
Sure. And there are a lot of other nonprofit organizations. So one of the things that I've always tried to express is that there are companies that are out there who are also being solicited by other nonprofit agencies and nonprofits, and there's so many out there.
Sure.
So I guess it's a matter of which one is more near and dear to your heart, and that's what I would say is why I'm here and why you're here.
Sure.
And if there was one last piece of information that you wanted to share with our listeners before we wrap this up, what would that be?
Well, before I get to the last piece,
Okay.
I just wanted to mention our two other events that we
Great.
have. So the signature event is Walk to End Alzheimer's. Our second signature event is called The Longest Day. And so that's coming up actually June 20th. It's usually the 20th or the 21st is the longest day of the year. And so that signifies that every day is the longest day of the year for a caregiver who's caring for somebody living with Alzheimer's. So that's how the event started. We said, okay, we're going to do it around that. But the event itself is a do-it-yourself event. Figure out what you love to do and figure out how to monetize it. In that respect, we realized very quickly that you can do that any day of the year. So we have people who figure out what they love to do, figure out how to monetize it. We have everything from a 5K run walk to a golf tournament to a little kid.
Battle of the Chefs, I think.
Battle
is
of the
coming up.
Chefs is coming up.
Yeah.
One of our executive leadership team members, Jennifer, is doing that. So again, beautiful idea for an event like that. We also have a little kid selling lemonade, doing a lemonade stand outside their house. They raised $10.
That's
So
great.
everything from soup to nuts. It's a really fun event because you can really figure out what you want to do and figure out how to monetize that. And then the third event that we do is called Sub-Zero Heroes, which is a jump into a frozen lake in February or March or early March. And that takes place at Berrien Lake, which is across the river from Poughkeepsie. So a short drive for people from Westchester or Rockland, and even shorter from the people in the upper counties. It's exactly what you think it is. But what I will say is that you jump in and then you get right out.
Of course.
It's not it's not like a polar plunge. It's not where you're frolicking, with those folks at Coney Island, the Polar Bear Club, and it's not like that.
Right.
Because those people, they're hanging out in the frozen water. We get into costumes and we jump in, we jump out, and we raise money for
Lots of
Alzheimer's,
fun.
and it's a really fun event. Cold but fun. I prefer jumping into a hot tub and then
Exactly.
staying in the hot tub. That's better for me. But in terms of final words, I just want to make sure that people know that we are here for them. We have free programs and services. We're here to help. And that's what we want to make sure that we're spreading the word, that people know that we're here, that Alzheimer's Association is here for them. It's 1-800-272-3900, and it's alz.org/Hudson Valley. Those are the two best ways to get in touch with us and let us help.
That's great. So we were talking earlier about some of the warning signs that somebody might be seeing and saying, what's going on with mom? What's going on with dad? Can you just share with us what some of those warning signs are?
Absolutely. So sometimes people get confused. They think that there are traits that when you just get older, this is what happens. Sometimes it's actually a sign of Alzheimer's. So the example that I like to give is your keys, your car keys, right? So people lose their car keys all the time. You lose your car keys.
Absolutely.
I lose my car keys.
Sure.
And you've been doing it since you were 20 years old.
Yes.
So that's not a warning sign of Alzheimer's, losing your keys. That happens. But if you find out that your loved one's keys are now in the refrigerator, or if they don't know what the keys do, then all of a sudden you have a problem. The 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's, the first one is memory loss that disrupts daily life. So it's not just something that happens once in a while, but it's really disrupting daily life. Second one is challenges in planning or solving problems. So again, self-explanatory. 3, difficulty completing familiar tasks. 4, confusion with time or place. This is a big one. You also often hear about people who they take the same route home from work all the time, and then all of a sudden they don't know which way to go. They're confused. They can't get home.
Or maybe they're asking about somebody who who has been passed for many years, and they're like, "Where's Bobby?" And
Absolutely.
like Bobby's been gone for 20 years.
Absolutely. Trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. New problems with words in speaking or writing. Misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps.
Right.
Decreased or poor judgment. Sometimes what people don't realize is Alzheimer's is not just about memory. Oftentimes it's about behavior as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see behavior changes in people, and you're like, what's going on with this person? Are they just getting
Angry,
old? They're
right.
just getting old and crotchety?
Yeah.
And sometimes no, it's because of what's going on in your brain. There are anger issues, and some people, I've heard many times, people have told me, okay, my husband or my wife, they were a teddy bear. They were the nicest, kindest person, and now they have such anger issues, and so behavior can change as well. Decreased or poor judgment, withdrawal from work or social activities, and last but not least, changes in mood and personality, which is what I just touched on.
It's obviously very important to have those recognitions and get help as soon as possible, right?
Without question.
Without question, right? So I think if any of these things ever come up, somebody should really just call and reach out. Don't let it keep going.
Absolutely.
Even if it's nothing, you're better off knowing it's nothing than waiting and then realizing that you could have had extra months working on finding some sort of
Just call that
help.
800 number,
Right.
800-272-3900.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
For any of our listeners who might know somebody or you're inquiring about this, please don't forget to share this podcast with them. If anybody has any questions and they need to reach out to David or the Alzheimer's Association, you can always reach out to us. There's going to be some links in the description of this podcast, and all of the phone numbers and websites that we've explained today will also be there. And I just wanted to once again say thank you to LMC Media for hosting this wonderful podcast studio. It's beautiful. I want to thank Vectorly, who is also helping us produce this podcast. And most importantly, I want to thank you for tuning in and making Enrich Life Podcast the next best podcast out there. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks.